Welcome to Something More to Podcast, where we move through topics wherever the conversation takes us. I'm your host, Richard Collins.
And I'm Adam Culbertson.
So, yeah, I guess probably best to address the elephant in the room first and foremost. Due to circumstances beyond our control, we haven't been able to record in a good while.
A month,
yeah,
really.
A month now, yeah.
I mean, it's my fault, kind of.
I mean, it's not fault. Fault is a bad word.
Well, yeah, it's not my fault. But, I mean, I've been dealing with just schizophrenic episodes, sciatica.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been, I fell down the stairs last week, earlier this week, actually, on Tuesday, because my back is just bad. I misstepped and fell down almost a whole flight of stairs. But no, I just with my schizophrenia, I mean, it happens. It's not the first time. It's going to happen again. I mean, hopefully it won't last as long. It doesn't always last this long. But, I mean, I just haven't been able to focus, have had to cancel the podcast, had to cancel prepping for the other podcast that's coming, and canceling D&D.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday as well. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that, man, I can't really control that.
What it really comes down to is I'm not confident enough in myself to be able to carry the whole conversation myself.
Yeah.
Talking to myself with Richard Collins.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're back now for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can actually think again. That's that was I was so proud of myself that I can actually think again.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've been able to do I have been able to play Final Fantasy XIV, even with all this. I mean, I still haven't finished all the story in the new expansion that came out at the beginning of the month. So I mean, I've had a whole month and I still haven't finished it, but I have been leveling other characters, just doing fates and
right.
just grinding stuff that I could do without even thinking.
Yeah. So stuff that doesn't really take a whole lot of thought and focus into.
Yeah, something I can just if I only feel like playing for 15 minutes, I can get progress done in 15 minutes and then
That's true. It's almost impossible to do that in story with Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
It's like you start settling into story, you're probably going to be there at least an hour.
Yeah. Oh, the story is so freaking good. There's some nightmare fuel shit, but the story is so good. I'm almost done with the story. I'm in the higher 79 quest, catching up to 80 stuff. So,
but yeah, it is a very good story. For anybody out there that maybe has played 14 in the past and has maybe considered going back into it, I would say that that Shadowbringers is the best story that they've had in 14.
Oh yeah.
And I was actually putting some thought into it because I've had conversations with people concerning ordering stories, which stories were good, which stories are bad, and I don't dislike any of the stories, but I definitely hear from basically everybody that Stormblood is their least favorite, and some people really kind of hate it. And I was thinking about why that is, and I think part of it comes down to Stormblood's story was not very much like a Final Fantasy story. It got very political. It almost delved too deep into that whole rebellion thing, because I know rebellion is kind of a theme throughout a number of Final Fantasies, but it was only ever tangential to the story itself. Whereas in Stormblood, like that was the entire story. And so I think that's kind of what turns some people off of it, is that it wasn't a very Final Fantasy like story. Whereas Shadowbringers is like full on, like, I mean, it could be a standalone Final Fantasy game story wise.
Oh, definitely. It's crazy. Like you even leave the world. And this is early on in the story. I mean, the games have been out a month, so spoilers aren't really a thing. I haven't finished the story, so we won't get into the end part of it.
Yeah.
But like we're traveling to other worlds. Like the worlds are so you got the source, which is the world that the game has taken place in this entire time. And we already know that there's other worlds because of previous stuff with the Warriors of Darkness in previous expansions.
The past quests for Heaven's Ward.
Yeah. And so we know there's worlds. Well, we go to the world that the Warrior of Darkness came from, and which it's a light world.
It was a world that darkness was defeated and it was overcome by light.
Yeah, and there's worlds with all elements where this certain element like overpowered everything else. So I mean that leaves a lot of room for future expansions. Now some of those worlds are already destroyed, so not all of them are going to be available for future expansions and stuff, but there's room for more.
Well, you know, and something that I've talked with some people about is beyond just that ability to say, you know, go to some of the other surviving shards, as they're called, that are maybe overcome by other types of energy. There's also the fact that, I mean, it has been shown that there have been convergences, like shards that have gone back into the main world.
Yeah.
And so it also leaves open the possibility that we could have, I don't want to say like a mass reset per se, but I guess to have something to compare it to, kind of like Calamity in WoW, like where there's just massive changes to the world, which could end up being how they go back and introduce some of the newer concepts into older areas, just by way of everything converging back into the source and being one world again.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to prevent.
Well, that's what we're trying to prevent, but I mean,
because there's people alive on these worlds and we want to save those people too.
Right.
Which if we absorb it back into the source, all those people die.
Right. Not to mention it also causes a calamity within the source.
Yeah.
And will likely kill a lot of people there too.
Yep. Which, the world is still recovering from the previous calamity. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's actually a pretty deep and compelling story. And I'm definitely very excited to see where it goes next.
Yeah. Now the other worlds, they kind of remind me of the different realms in
Asgardian myth.
Or like in a Dungeons and Dragons setting, where you have the realm of fire and you have the realm of death and all that kind of stuff. It kind of reminds me of that, where like there's portals to all these different worlds. So I mean, again, like another thing that I feel is highly influenced by tabletop gaming in Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. I feel like, I don't know. It just has that same kind of feel of planes shifting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got you. It has kind of a cosmology to it.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the first time we've actually been able to travel ourselves. We knew it was there. Right. I know people like early on were suspecting that we were going to be doing space travel to get to these worlds, but I felt like that was not fantasy enough.
Right. And I mean, when you really get to it, with the very nature of them, it's not really space-based travel.
Yeah.
It's not like they just broke off of the world and floated off into space somewhere else.
No,
I mean it's like literally like a mirror image of the source. It's kind of like an alternate dimension, or maybe like a separate reality that's layered on top of each other.
Yeah.
In D&D terms, it's like the ethereal realm.
Mm-hmm.
Like where it shares space, like it is in the same place as the material realm, but it's just kind of like on the back side of it.
Yeah, like you have to like do something to be able to see and interact with something there rather than interacting with the main world.
Right. And so it's kind of like they're existing in the same space, but just like on a different frequency, so that you have to kind of have some kind of drastic thing to be there. It's not like you can just walk there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's so cool. Like they brought back high fantasy. That was another thing with Stormblood, the previous expansion, that I feel it was very, there wasn't much fantasy involved in it. It was all warfare, technology based, like stuff that you fought, because you're fighting the Empire, and they can't wield magic or anything like that without the help of technology.
Yeah, it definitely got pretty heavy into the tech fantasy, and I mean I was fine with that.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it myself. No,
but yeah, I totally get how that would maybe turn some people off of it.
Yeah, but I mean this is the most fantasy that Final Fantasy XIV has been.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Through the original and all the expansions, it has the most fantasy, and it does have that really just high fantasy feel that some of the other Final Fantasy games that have been popular have been like Final Fantasy IX. Like it was very high fantasy.
I mean, 9 especially was kind of intended as like a throwback to like old school Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and that was after 7 and 8 being very high,
tech, very futuristic. And then 9 kind of like brought it all back to like where they started.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the reason why a lot of people really enjoyed that game.
Oh yeah. I still like 8. 8 is still like my favorite normal Final Fantasy game, just because I don't know. I like Squall. I like the Gunblade. Like the Gunblade sold it for me. I thought it was a cool looking weapon.
Well, I will get into one, like, I guess super minor spoiler, because I'm pretty sure you've already heard about this, because it'd be pretty impossible. But you know that the raid in Shadowbringers is Eden.
Yeah. Yeah, it's straight from Final Fantasy VIII.
Straight from 8.
And like the previous expansion, the Alliance raids were from Final Fantasy Tactics, and it actually
a little bit of a combo of Tactics and 12.
Yeah.
But those supposedly actually happen in the same world anyway.
Yeah,
Ivalice.
There's still like all of them have kind of happened in the same world, but in different time periods.
Kind of, but like Tactics and 12 are a lot more closely related than some of the other games.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like, some of them are completely unrelated story-wise, land-wise, because things have changed so much. Like, I know that it's a theory. I don't know how true
well, yeah, and it
is.
There's not a whole lot tying it all together. Like, it's stuff like in Final Fantasy X, there's, like, reference to Shinra, but like as a very far separated entity that would have been like, you know, ancient times or I forget if it was like ancient times or it was like far flung future, and that this was like supposedly the guy that would be like the great grandfather of the guy who started the Shinra company in 7 or something.
Yeah, and I mean even Tactics is tied to Final Fantasy VII. Because you
have Cloud.
Yeah, Cloud. I mean, it's a bonus content that you can unlock if you haven't ever gotten Cloud in Final Fantasy Tactics. You have to do this quest chain and get these robot automation like characters or a character, and then you eventually unlock another one. You use a Zodiac stone, and you actually pull Cloud from the future or the past or something, some kind of time travel that pulls Cloud to your party.
And, you know, for that matter, another thing to get excited about for Shadowbringers is the Alliance raid is going to be Nier Automata based.
Oh, okay.
And Yoko Taro himself is actually working on the story of it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a really cool game.
Mm-hmm. So that's definitely some more to look forward to.
Yeah. But I had mentioned to you that I finally did finish the Alliance raid, because I mean, a lot of times I don't do new dungeons that are on the side and not part of the main story. I do them when they pop up in roulette, and that's just it just happens that way sometimes,
and that's fair.
And I finally got through all of the Alliance raid from Stormblood, and like the ending for it is it really wraps up like what happened with Final Fantasy Tactics with the ending, because I mean it's not your typical Final Fantasy story. There's no happy ending. It's a tragedy.
It really is.
And hell, some of the best stories out there are tragedies, and Tactics I feel is one of the best tragedy stories out there.
Tragedies? What are you talking about? Who cares about Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah,
like, nobody likes that story, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you save the day in Tactics, but like you're stuck. Like you saved the world from being overrun by demons, but you had to be trapped with the demons and dead or whatever to save the world, and nobody knows you did it.
And and in all honesty though, like when they did the Alliance raid, it actually put a really nice cap on that.
Yeah, it was a happy ending to a tragic tale.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't change the ending really at all.
No, it didn't.
I mean, it kept the ending how it was, but I mean, it kind of put a more positive ending on top of that. Yeah,
and then because it's all like led by like the investigation into what really happened to Ramza and everything was led by a theater troupe of his.
Of
descendants.
Orin's descendants.
Yeah. Orin and him and
like I thought they were directly Orin's descendants, and like that.
Alma was the mother.
Okay, right.
So I mean, it's from the Baal family as well. So you got Orin and the Baal family.
Fair enough.
Together there that. And I mean the two kids that are in the story look like Ramza and Alma.
Yeah, just like slightly shifted, like different color hair, like but pretty much the same look, like the same hairstyles, like
yeah. And they do a little theater thing where they're like, oh well, we're gonna go. Like Ramza and Alma are like, oh, well, we're going to go and make our own story now. Like they know the story is ended and everybody died. But they're like, we're going to go make our own story that make a new name for ourselves and not live off of the things that we did in the past.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it leaves it open because I've always wanted a true sequel to Final Fantasy Tactics. Which is what they originally had planned to do before they made Tactics Advanced, and then they kind of just scrapped everything
and just made a completely separate story.
Yeah.
But that being said, it felt really good to like have some closure on that. And personally, I think that the fights in that particular Alliance raid were just top notch.
Oh yeah, and I mean they actually use the cool fucking abilities. All the special night abilities and everything, they use those abilities on the battlefield in the Alliance raids, and I mean down to the animations, just more massive.
Oh yeah, it was really cool, really fun. Sidolphus is actually pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
As he should be.
Oh yeah. But no, it was as Tactics being my all-time favorite Final Fantasy game, I was very impressed with how they handled that and ended it, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really good stuff that they're doing. And I definitely look forward to that continuing, because everything in Shadowbringers has impressed me. The story is great. Like the dungeons have been fantastic. Like the actual raid that's out. I mean, it's so much fun. I love what they're doing with it. Like it is just all around, like, just 10 of 10.
Oh yeah.
Like the music is all incredible.
It's the best MMO RPG expansion I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of content that goes into each expansion, really. This one in particular, like just the amount of story, the extra stuff you can do, the changes to the game.
Oh yeah. Like the way that they kind of brought Fates back to prominence. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, and I would like to see that kind of thing spread out to other parts of the game even.
Yeah, like do some because the way you build up your rank doing Fates in the new zones, I would like to see that go back to the other ones, so people have a way to level doing Fates in the earlier levels. Because, I mean, coming from A Realm Reborn, like that was fun.
It was fun.
I mean, there was a lot of people always involved in the Fates, and you don't see that scale as big as it was back then now, even with the new changes. But I feel like a lot of that has to do with so many people are doing the new story. So many people came over from other games like World of Warcraft and everything in recent months.
Right.
And there's so, if you just started, like even just a few months ago, I mean, you could still be working on previous expansions.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, like even Alba, like in our FC, like he's I think he's like maybe halfway through Shadowbringers now.
Yeah.
And he just had to get through Stormblood to get into Shadowbringers.
And he plays all the time.
And he plays like constantly. Yeah.
So I mean, there's hundreds upon hundreds of hours of just main story content, not even counting all the extra side content, raids, alliance raids, trials, like the extreme trials, and then you got, because I mean you have to do the hard mode trials to get through the story. But
don't even get me started on crafting.
Oh yeah,
crafting is like an entirely other game on top of it.
Yeah, crafting, gathering, you got fishing, mining, botany.
And it's not just like in some games where it's just like, oh, look, you click a button and you're crafting.
No,
like it's actually involved. You have abilities, like you have like to balance like the actual durability of the item, and like balance like the quality of it while you're making it. And I mean, it's actually involved. Like there's a whole thing behind it.
Yeah,
like,
you could fuck up and just lose all of your materials because you didn't do the right order, or like you weren't paying attention to correct things while you're crafting. Like you have to actually pay attention.
Like fishing isn't just, clicking a button. Like, you have to figure out, you have to learn or study, find out, research like what baits to use for certain things, or like what things you can use to, as it's called, mooch off to get a bigger fish. Like catching a small fish and then using that fish to catch a bigger fish.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, all these systems are actually a little involved. Like botany and mining, not quite as much.
It's your typical, like botany and mining is kind of your typical MMO mining crafting, but there is more to it than that, and you actually like can choose what materials you gather off of a node. Like one node could have like 5 or 6 different things that you can get off of it.
And some are harder to gather than others, so you have like, some that are guaranteed gets and some that might have a chance of failure. Yeah. But it just depends on what you're trying to farm.
Based on level, like what level the item is and what level you are.
So, I mean, there is there's just so much to do. Like even if I had 24 hours a day to work on it, I don't know if I would ever get caught up.
No, no. There's
Look,
you have to pick and choose, really.
I'll be lucky if I can get all of my combat classes like up to par, like within, I don't know, by the end of the year even.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I went into the expansion. I maxed out all of my combat classes to level 70, and I mean, I've already got 2 jobs to, well, I got a 79, a 78, a 77, and a few in between, like 70 and 75. So I mean, I've been like, that's my main focus before I really dive into crafting or gathering, is get everything to 80. So
yeah, like I've finally actually gotten past the, like, because I was stuck for so long on just trying to get Titania Extreme done.
Yeah.
And it's not that the content is entirely just too difficult. Like it's challenging. You definitely have to pay attention, and it'll definitely teach you to do good rotations. Because I mean, it's not like a crazy tight DPS check, but it's fairly tight. But now that I kind of got past that hurdle, I can actually start focusing on the other stuff I was wanting to focus on.
Yeah.
Like actually doing my PvP, which I haven't gone back to in a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, luckily I did all that PvP stuff, like well over a year ago. Just because I kind of hit a point where, like, that's all I wanted to do. I mean, I was just like, it's easy to do. It's whether I win or lose, I'm still gonna like make some kind of progress with at least something, and I just cranked it out, and then just over time I was like, oh well, I finished all this. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So whenever it came up that, oh, it's going away on the first big patch for this expansion, I was like, oh well, I'm done. And I mean, I'll help other people
right
when I can, if we're on at the same time and schedules line up and everything. But the queues are sometimes really long.
They sometimes are. I'm really hoping that maybe once they actually announce a date, which hopefully is at least going to be a few weeks out, for 5.1 when it's going to be going away, that people will start getting into PvP pretty heavy and queues will be pretty fast.
Yeah, I think that'll happen, because when they announced it last time that it was coming, everybody jumped on PvP, and that's all anybody was doing to try and get that. Which, I mean, a lot of those people, they got their horses. A lot of people didn't care about the titles,
right?
But a lot of those people got their horses. But there's so many new people in the game now.
That's true.
That they're still playing catch up, and that's hurting PvP.
Yeah, and that's very true. But yeah, like horses, like the mounts are definitely my biggest priority with PvP.
And those are the fastest to get.
If I can get all of the titles, like I'll try. But
yeah,
I mean, at the very least, I do want to get. I do want to get the ninja armor, which I think is like the next one up. The next one that I'm going to be working towards.
The silver wolf.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely actually pretty fun. Like I've actually been enjoying playing, especially Ninja in like Feast. Like has been very fun.
Yeah. Oh man, Feast used to be. I don't like the new Battlefield for Feast.
Oh no.
No. The last Battlefield that they had for Feast, it was right around the time that they got rid of. Well, there was 2 different maps. There was one that had a lot of that had trees. It had like grass and some bridges and stuff. That was just a big circle of land with grass and like a tree here and there, a couple barriers.
Yeah.
And they're all connected by bridges. And then there was another one that was like almost like a boat. kind of setting. It was all wood surrounded by water. You had barriers, but you had ledges that dropped down. It wasn't like a drop that would do damage to you or anything like that. But as like a machinist, like I busted out a lot of feast on machinists doing this. Was you see the healer in a position to where they could be pushed off a ledge, you push them off a ledge, their party has no heals until they get back up.
Yeah.
Like you separate the healer from the party, and then you just boost damage on DPS or the tank or whatever, and you could wipe out a team with a machinist just pushing the healer off constantly.
Man, it in a way, like that's kind of related to why I enjoy playing Ninja in it, is because with just a little bit of help, like you can just delete a healer.
Yeah.
Just sneak up on them and just unload, and then they're down a healer, and you just kind of overtake them.
And see, I haven't, because healers were a huge issue in PvP in the later half of Shadowbringers, when they added the whole MOBA PvP, Astragallos or whatever it's called.
Right. Rival Wings,
yeah. Which I found really fun, but healers being as overpowered as they were, like you could have 5 people on a healer in that. If they're within their shield for a tower, like they were unstoppable by themselves. It shouldn't be possible. And it just made it frustrating, and it made a lot of people quit playing, and it led me to not getting my damn gorilla mount. But
it is a really cool mount, though. Like, he actually carries you.
Yeah, he carries you in his hand. And he's got rocket pack on his back.
Yeah, it's like Winston. It's just carrying you around.
Yeah. But I just don't. I'm not a fan of the new map, but I mean, I haven't played Feast since the expansion came out. I've only played the front line.
Right.
Which, as a gunbreaker, which has been what I'm maining now.
Yeah.
Gunbreaker, like I've gone one-on-one with a healer and just fucked them up. I mean, they might have been bad healers. Because I mean, I haven't taken down every healer.
The difference between a bad healer and like a really good healer is pretty vast.
Yeah, it is. It is. For me, I find healing too difficult in PvP for my liking on a controller. I feel like if I was able to like mouse click people and use the keyboard to heal them, I feel like I'd be able to like control the fight a little bit better. But with a controller playing on PlayStation 4 without really having the choice of a keyboard and mouse, I mean, you kind of do.
I mean, you kind of do. Like, there are some USB mice that you can get to work with the PlayStation.
Yeah, I tried to help when A Realm Reborn came out. I tried to help Joe because he wanted to play keyboard and mouse on the PlayStation, and like it was weird. Like it wasn't just like straight keyboard mouse. Like
that is like weird, especially considering that like with the touchpad and everything, you can basically use it like a mouse.
Yeah,
it's just far too clunky to use in combat.
Yeah, and it was weird because like you had to, and maybe we were doing it wrong or something, but like no matter what we did, like you had to kind of use both the controller and mouse and keyboard for different things.
Really?
But I mean, they might have fixed that since, but I mean, I prefer playing with controller anyways.
I do as well. I think in a lot of cases it makes things easier. Like there are definitely some things that are harder on a controller, but there are a lot of things that are easier.
Yeah. And
I think that moving, especially like very positional moving where you have to be in a certain place and still being able to use abilities at the same time is easier on a controller.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you go in your settings and you can change everything to make it where like, oh, if you press this and this, it pulls up a different set of bars.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not even using, like there's 2 entire bars that I'm not even using on controller right now.
Oh yeah.
Like the double tap R and double tap L.
Oh yeah, I don't even really bother with that either. I have it set up, like I have it where I could do it, but I just don't feel the need for it, especially with the changes. Going back to Shadowbringers, okay, so I'm going to say this word, simplified. They simplified the abilities, but when I say this, I don't mean simplified as in going from Wrath of the Lich King to Cataclysm on World of Warcraft, where they simplified everything so much that it just wasn't fun anymore to me. Like, they simplified it, but you still have to think. You have to use your abilities, and it's very situational. You can't just spam the same thing over and over and over and over, in the same rotation over and over. Fucking just running your fingers on 1, 2, 3, 4 over and over.
It's very reactive. If you really want to maximize your DPS, like, and I can only really speak current for Red Mage because it's the only thing I've played at like current max. But if you really want to maximize your DPS, it's a lot to pay attention to, because it's not just like, oh, well, you do this ability, and when you do this, and then you do this, and you do this. Like, it's very reactionary. Like, certain things proc. You have to do different things when certain things proc, and you have to constantly be trying to use your off-level cooldowns, like, in between wherever you can.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, like, use your buffs and everything as soon as they're up, whenever they're up. And it really ends up being a lot to keep track of, especially when you're trying to still do boss mechanics.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's definitely still complex, at the very least for Red Mage.
Yeah.
Although, admittedly, Red Mage didn't change a whole lot.
No, it's probably the one that stayed the same more than anything else.
Like, they added a little bit to it. They changed a few things, but it mostly stayed where it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been a fun job. Like, well, I mean, it's only been around for 2 expansions now, but
only in its second expansion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very fun job. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, it's my favorite caster, and I'm not a fan of casting anymore. Like, and it's my favorite.
But yeah, I do want to start getting into getting other classes up and playing those, but like I'm having a lot of fun playing Red Mage, and that's good enough for me.
And my focus right now, I have not touched any DPS so far. My main focus is I'm going to level all the tanks and all the healers. Like, I'm kind of doing them together. Get those out of the way, and then crank out different groups of DPS, and mostly just for inventory management.
Then that's very fair. Like, if nothing else, leveling them in groups helps a lot with that, so that you're not just like, okay, well, here's all of my leveling gear for these 10 levels for, casters and melee DPS and range DPS and tanks and healers. And
it's overwhelming. Just like the abilities with they simplify, quote unquote, simplified it. The amount of abilities on each job, and some of them were just insane.
Some of them were insane.
Like, it was getting really hard to play some jobs and use them to their full capacity using a controller.
Yeah.
And this change, the reason they did this was to make, there's so many people that play with a controller. A lot of people prefer it, even PC players.
Basically everybody that plays on Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah.
And plus, yeah, like you said, a lot of people on PC even like playing with a controller.
Yeah. And there's so many people that do it that they were like, okay, well, we're going to scale the number of abilities back. We're going to combine some abilities. We're going to completely get rid of some useless abilities. And
in some cases they got rid of some abilities that I don't know if I would say are useless, but it definitely makes things interesting.
Well, like Dark Knight, they got rid of what's the ability everybody hates? Dark Arts.
Yeah,
they got rid of Dark Arts. I feel like that was the best thing. I mean, everybody agrees. Like, it's a very popular opinion that everybody hated Dark Arts. I didn't hate it. But the spam of the button was kind of annoying.
Well, and they got rid of Protect.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they got rid of Protect, but they boosted all the tanks.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like balance-wise that's a problem, but it's just kind of weird when you go into a dungeon and you're like standing around and you're like, oh wait, no, we don't get Protect anymore.
Oh yeah, as a tank, as a main tank, I got used to having to wait for a Protect or asking for a Protect if they're not doing it. But now I'm just like, okay, I just start running as soon as the barrier's down. Like whether everybody's ready or not, I'm running.
Yeah.
And then if they're not ready, I pop all my cooldowns.
You're the killer. You're running.
Yeah, I'm the killer. I'm running. Oh, here I go, killing again.
Although, man, so Rick and Morty season 4 is actually approaching now.
Yeah, what, November?
Yeah, I want to say yeah.
Yeah, I think it's November. Oh man, I'm ready. All the sneak peek stuff. I don't have they said that there's going to be more episodes in the season, or are they still going to try and stick to that?
I don't know if I've seen anything about number of episodes in the season. I know that they were approved for, I think, like 70 something.
I want to say 72. I may be wrong. I want to say it is definitely in the 70s.
Now, that's not to say how many seasons that those episodes are going to comprise, but they were approved for that many episodes. Mm-hmm. And I guess really it's up to them to decide how many episodes they want to do in a season.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a cash cow for them.
It really is.
You have your fans, and then you have your like weird fans for Rick and Morty.
Although I'll also point out at 72, that's 6 seasons of 12 episodes a season.
Okay, I mean that would be cool if we can get 6 more seasons at least.
Yeah, that would be. And 12 is actually a pretty good number for a season, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
It's enough time to go through like a season storyline, and it's not so long that they kind of burned out on it. Like it gives them enough of a break that they can go off, do other stuff, or focus on other things that they want to do, and then come back to it.
Yeah. Put time into writing and building the world and building the universes.
Right. The multiverse.
Because I mean, like they like this past season, they showed just how many like multiverses there really are, and like sub multiverses within, like, because you got A, B, C, D, like you got all these different letters added to the C1 C number letter stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like kind of what they've been saying all along is the fact that there are nigh infinite universes. Like I'm excited to see the continuation of Evil Morty. Oh yeah, absolutely. Even if we're only getting like 1 episode for it a season, like that's still pretty exciting. Yeah. Although it kind of feels like it's going to come to a head sooner than later.
Yeah, maybe. Because I mean, they went after Rick, or he went after Rick because he had a robot Rick.
Right.
But it's.
Yep.
I mean, Rick's already taken down the Citadel once.
That's true.
Well, at least that we know of.
Like he could have taken it down many more times.
Yeah, I mean he is a terror Rick.
He is a terror Rick. Yeah, like so that's really exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I was actually able to finish Lucifer during our time off,
and I just started it. I'm like maybe 5 episodes in now through the first season.
Yeah, I was actually pretty happy. I had heard some people had said some stuff about like, oh well, I thought it had come to a place where it would just kind of be over. It's like, yeah, but I don't think it was satisfying for being over. Like I am very happy that there is a 5th season coming. And
it is the final season. Like they are going to wrap it up.
The 5th season is going to be the final season, to my understanding.
I actually read that 2 days ago because I was looking it up because I started it and I was like, well, these are decent. How long are the episodes?
I mean, they're full episodes. They're like the 40 whatever, the 50 minute.
They're pretty long episodes. I mean, because that's starting on a new series, or well, it's not a new series, but starting on a new series for me with so many episodes, with long episodes.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of intimidating on even getting started when I can watch something shorter.
I mean, there's already like 60 some odd episodes, I think.
Yeah, because usually I watch I'll stop it. I'll have to stop it to do something else or whatever. A lot of times I stop it in the middle of an episode and then I come back to it later. So I can't really sit down and just binge watch it in one sitting.
But yeah, like end on end, it's like a full 24 hours of viewing.
Yeah. It's a lot of time. And I'm like, I turned it off like 24? Right after he got shot in the leg.
So, no, I'm sorry. It's more like 48.
Yeah.
It's like a full 48 hours of viewing. Like, just if you were to watch all of them end on end.
Yeah. Because like the last place I paused it at was in the middle of an episode where he got shot in the leg and he's bleeding, and that's my cliffhanger right now, is he's actually getting hurt. But
yeah, like I mean, it's really good, and it's something I didn't really realize at first, but I've come to find out is that it's actually sort of a spin-off of Neil Gaiman's Sandman series from DC Vertigo.
Okay. Was Vertigo the adult DC universe or whatever, or series?
Yes, I believe so. Like Sandman at least was definitely a lot more adult. But
I think they're getting rid of Vertigo now.
Oh, really?
I want to say that I read an article on DC Universe that they're actually dropping Vertigo. I don't know if it's Vertigo. It was whatever the adult. The more adult based comic books.
They said at the very least, like Sandman is definitely more adult.
Yeah, so it is probably is Vertigo, which I didn't even know was a thing. But
well, I mean, it wasn't ever really played up. It wasn't like DC was all just like, oh yeah, hey, you should check out this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just combining it or just like,
I know in some cases they've pulled from some of their other publishers, like. That's how they got Static Shock in DC. Like that's how the Watchmen came into DC.
Yeah,
because they were like part of other, like, I guess, brands that they had.
Yeah. So I mean, it's exciting. It's always exciting to have good shows and movies come from comic books.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's great just to see, like, something that you love that's starting to get this appreciation.
Yeah. Now, if somebody could actually do a good Fantastic Four, that would be great. I love Fantastic Four. I hate every single movie that they've ever done.
Well, the movies that they've done have all missed the entire point.
Yeah.
And it's just like the worst faux pas out of them is Doctor Doom as your first villain.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. Like,
no.
Doctor Doom is arguably the greatest villain in comics.
Yeah.
Like he has depth. Like his motivations are actually pretty pure. Like I mean, he's an interesting character. Like there's a lot behind him. And to just be like, okay, well, we're going to do a new Fantastic Four movie. We'll just kind of throw him in as the villain. And I mean, to give him the time that he needs to really become the iconic villain that he is, you need like an entire movie that's dedicated to telling that story.
I feel the only real way to bring Doctor Doom like to life is to do what Marvel did with Thanos. Like build him up over this huge overarching story over all these massive amount of movies, and then introduce him in like at full power.
I mean, I could totally see that, but it's like he and it's kind of like, in a way, like what they did with Thanos, like how they made Thanos this deep villain that actually had like his own motivations. It's not like he was just evil for evil's sake. Like,
yeah, I mean, it makes you think. You'd be like, I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. Like as a matter of fact, like even in like the comics, typically, because he's he's actually the ruler of a country.
Yeah.
And in the comics, like, his people love him because he's a great ruler.
Yeah. Yeah, he cares for his people. Like, he takes care of them. Like, he's not.
I mean, if anything, he cares too much. And that's his problem.
That's the problem. He cares too much. And like Doctor Doom, like, he's looking at it from like the heroes, like what we consider the hero's perspective. Yeah, he's bad, but if you look at it from his perspective, you're like,
I mean, it's all a means to an ends thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he does these things because of what it's going to result in, not because of what he's doing. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't do all of these things that everybody thinks are evil because, oh, well, I'm going to try and be evil or anything. It's because he feels like it's necessary to get what he needs done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, Stan Lee was a genius.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, Fantastic Four, like, I don't understand how they haven't been able to take the genius from the comic books and put it on screen. I mean, Fox owns them, the rights for the movies, or they
not
did
anymore. That's been
Fox
completed.
is owned by Disney now.
Like that deal has been completed. So Fantastic Four is officially back in Marvel's hands.
I hope we get a space opera, like.
Oh yeah,
setting.
I mean, because there's so much like if you remember from like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Ego the Living Planet, that came from Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Like Galactus, like on your shirt.
Yep.
It's from Fantastic Four. Like a lot of that stuff, like dealing with like the Celestials and dealing with like the Beyonder and stuff like that came from Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that really kind of expands the scope of the Marvel universe just by including the Fantastic Four in it.
Yeah, and like, I want to see them continue like doing stuff with the heroes that they've got movies for and everything. Because there's still a lot of stuff they can do. I mean, there's endless content.
Well, and they actually recently made a big announcement about like their plans for Phase 4, and there's definitely some interesting stuff in there. I mean, like, there is going to be a Thor 4, which apparently is going to actually feature Natalie Portman.
She's going to be female Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
She's going to come back as Jane Foster.
Yeah,
and she'll be Lady Thor. So that's exciting.
Thor, yeah.
That's exciting that they're going into that, because that was some pretty cool stuff in the comics.
I still want Beta Ray Bill, and I want him to be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that would be cool. And who knows, it could be coming, because I mean, Chris Hemsworth Thor is with the Guardians right now.
Yeah.
That easily could be a direction they go.
I mean, didn't they meet in a bar? Or I don't remember. But like Beta Ray Bill without the hammer was like able to take on Thor. Like, and then he was able to pick up the hammer too.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I was really hoping we were gonna get more with Hank Pym, with Ultros, and that leading into Beta Ray Bill, because that whole origin story had a lot to do with Beta Ray Bill in the comics, and they went a completely different direction with that whole thing. And
but yeah, there's some exciting stuff. There's the new Doctor Strange movie that they've given a title to, which was. It's like the multiverse of menace or something like that, multiverse of malice. Which I haven't read into it a whole lot, but I'd heard something saying that it was supposed to be a little more like horror related.
I'll take it.
Which I mean, especially when you're talking Doctor Strange, if we're talking horror, that could be very like Lovecraftian in nature.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which could be really cool. Not to mention, just the title alone is basically like saying, like, "Oh yeah, we're going to open up the multiverse now."
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, which means undoubtedly they're going to actually get into the actual Mandarin, like not the Mandarin as he was presented in Iron Man 3. who was shown at the end to be a fake. Like they lampshaded that. It wasn't just like, fan theory stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it looks like we're gonna actually get into that, which is cool. Blade. They're
oh man,
they're doing Blade again.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Like I'm super excited to see Blade as part of the MCU.
Oh man, I wonder if they'll do a Spider-Man crossover with Blade. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Cause didn't they do wasn't Blade in the animated Spider-Man series in the 90s?
I believe he did, but that series had so many people cross over into it.
It did.
Like Punisher was in there for a while.
Yeah, so many people.
Like the man spider.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like that probably did happen. I just don't recall exactly.
Yeah, it'll be cool just to get a Blade movie again. I think that'd be pretty cool. I love the Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah,
Blade movies.
I mean, they were really good.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of like unsung heroes almost, and I think it's mostly because people didn't realize that those were comic movies.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't think they get enough credit for like bringing comic book movies to like a place where they could be viable.
Yeah.
Like you always hear about like the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans and like the early X-Men movies as being like, what really brought comic books to the forefront as far as movie material.
Yeah.
But it's like Blade never gets the credit.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. And it was huge. It was huge at the time.
It absolutely was.
It was done well. And from that, like back whenever Blade 2 was coming out, I wanted a Black Panther movie with Wesley Snipes in it.
Oh man,
but there was so much talk about it, and it never happened. And I was so disappointed. I do like the new Black Panther. But, I wanted a Wesley Snipes Black Panther so bad, and he was all for it too. At the time, like I think he owned like part of the rights to Black Panther. I think
I remember reading something about that.
I mean, I was a kid when those movies came out, but yeah, it could never happen now.
No, not at this point. Although it'd be maybe cool to have him like have a cameo in like the new Blade movie. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I wonder if it had to do with him not paying taxes.
I don't know,
because that was around that same time period. I guess he kind of fell off after Blade 2.
I guess it would have been. It was just kind of sad because I mean he was such a big thing for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean it wasn't even just Blade. You had stuff like Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. Oh, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
They fucking implanted like the knowledge on how to hack modern technology. Like, why would you put that in a criminal?
Yeah.
But you give the hero sewing.
Yeah, I mean it's useful, right?
Or knitting. It was knitting.
You don't even teach him how to use the shells.
Yeah. Didn't even teach him how to use the 3 seashells. Oh, so many movies that he was in. It was just so good. Fucking. What was the baseball movies?
Oh, dang it! Which
Billy
ones
Mays
were those?
Hayes or whatever, something like that. He always stole bases, and he hung a glove up every time he stole a base.
Yeah. Damn it! Which ones were those? Those were Major League.
Major League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson was in it. Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
He was the pitcher.
Yeah, he was. The glasses.
Glasses. Yeah.
Glasses.
It was a good movie. They were good movies.
Yeah, they were. Man. Although that's something that we haven't seen in like a while. Like especially like growing up, there were so many like baseball centric movies.
Yeah.
Like you had stuff like even kids movies like Angels in the Outfield or like A Kid in King Arthur's Court, like which was kind of tangentially related, or like Rookie of the Year,
A League of Their Own,
or you had stuff like A League of Their Own or Hardball. Like it was like, and I guess I don't know, like it's not like baseball is not popular anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. And then football, high school football became like a thing for movies and TV shows like shortly
high school
after
football.
that.
And then you had like, you know, the couple of like serious ones like Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
That were like really big, like, you know, or The Blind Side, Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
I never got into the football. I did watch Remember the Titans. I think that's the only football movie I watched that I got into. I just never really watched the other ones, so I never could get into them.
Yeah, and I mean, I can totally get that. Although out of all of the football pop culture stuff, my favorite probably is actually Blue Mountain State.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, that's
Blue Mountain State is worth
way
getting
different.
into.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious show.
Oh man. Oh, speaking of Blue Mountain State, what's his name? The big blonde Thad, yes. He is actually a character in Titans.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he plays the Hawk or something like that.
Okay. Like Hawk and Dove Hawk?
Yeah, Hawk and Dove. Yes, he is Hawk.
Cool.
Yeah, I hadn't really seen him in much like recently, and then I didn't even know he was in Titans until they showed Hawk and Dove. And
awesome.
Yeah. He's I mean, it's not a goofy role like what I've seen him in previously. It's actually a serious role. I mean, it is a serious show.
Like, the only other thing that I had known him from was, do you remember a movie produced by Rooster Teeth called what was it called? Laser Team?
Wasn't that on Netflix?
It was released online. I don't think it was on Netflix, although it might be now, because I mean, they have Red versus Blue on Netflix.
Yeah. I might not have seen that. But I know he had done something like maybe like a reboot or like a reunion thing for Blue Mountain State on Netflix.
But yeah, like he was in Laser Team, and I mean, he did a really good job in that.
Yeah.
Which that was actually a rather funny movie. Let me see.
But yeah, I feel like he nailed the role of Hawk in Titans.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I like to see people like that, you know, continue having success. Like, I mean, it's like, it's so sad. Like when you have like somebody that you really liked in a show that did like a really good job in the show, and then you never see them again.
Yeah. And he's a very side character in the show. Mm-hmm. And they I thought they were going to kill him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't kill him in the first season. So I'm hoping to see him more in the second season. There's been so much like sneak peek, like pictures and from the set and everything for Titans that all the heroes, the new heroes that they're adding, the new villains that they're adding to it, like they're bringing Superboy. Like Superboy is going to be in season 2. I'm excited for that because I'm a huge
Connor Kent Superboy.
Yeah, the clone.
Yeah.
Which they actually at the end of season 1 there is a cliffhanger, and I got so excited because I'm a huge Superboy fan. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like Superboy's going to be in season 2.
That's good.
And it is the Superboy that is a clone. They made very clear that it is the clone.
Very awesome.
So, I'm excited.
I mean, at least it's not Superboy Prime, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that would be a very different season, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not Superman's son.
Right. Not Jonathan Kent.
Yeah. But I don't know if they will ever add him in. I like how they've handled Titans with the main superheroes like Batman and Wonder Woman and stuff. Like they'll show them, but not show them.
Like just kind of show them in part.
Yeah, like they'll even have like Bruce Wayne in the background, like standing in a doorway while Dick is like brooding.
But like he's like silhouetted, like you can't really see his facial features or anything.
The focus of the camera is on Dick, and Bruce Wayne is blurry.
Nice.
You see like a picture on the wall of Bruce, but the face isn't very distinguishable. Like the focus isn't on the picture. Cool. The focus is on something else.
It kind of acknowledges that they're there, but like intentionally hides them.
Yes. Yeah, I love it because it leaves it open to where things can be tied to other things potentially, but it's not stuck to a certain actor or anything like that.
And even more so, it kind of thematically fits, what the Titans even is.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it's that whole idea of them trying to come out from their mentor shadow.
Yeah.
And so it kind of fits into that whole theming where it's like, hey, they're there, but we're not talking about them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Most of the stuff with Bruce and Batman has been backstory stuff or discussion between two Robins.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Or Wonder Woman is like with Dick and Diana.
Yeah.
I almost said Donna. But Diana Troy.
Donna Troy, yeah.
Because they've showed Wonder Girl, like, she's coming. No,
right.
She's coming to season 2.
She's coming. She'll be here. It'll be great. Don't worry.
They were going to release a new trailer this Friday. Yesterday, actually. We're recording on Saturday because I'm having surgery on Monday. But they delayed releasing the trailer because in respect to the family and friends and close friends to the
stunt person,
the stunt coordinator that died from a freak accident on set. It wasn't even on set. They were in the test facility testing out a stunt, and it was a crash or something like that. Well, a piece of metal broke off during the crash, hit him. He died before he could even get to the hospital. It's sad. Just freak accident. It's nobody's fault. It's just one of those things that happens. But I agree with them. Like some people were upset that they didn't release the trailer, and they're like, look, like it would be disrespectful to release this while everybody's in mourning.
Yeah, and I totally get that. And really, it's not like they're even delaying the show itself. It's just a trailer. Like people need to get over themselves.
Yeah, it's the first trailer for season 2. The show's not gonna come out any later.
Whether the trailer comes out now or like in a month, like it's not gonna affect the release date of the show itself.
Yeah, and it's not gonna affect the content of the show either.
Right.
They're still gonna end up doing that stunt, I would imagine. It was just, like I said, it was a freak accident. That, in a perfect world, it wouldn't happen,
Right. But yeah, I guess, completely separate note. I do plan on going to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood tonight.
What's that?
It's the new Quentin Tarantino movie that's just out this weekend.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I don't really keep up with new movies because I usually wait till they're on streaming services.
That's fair. And like it's something that I didn't even know that he was working on until maybe like a couple of months ago. I think was the first I'd heard about it.
Huh.
But I'm pretty excited about it. It's set like the summer of 1969. Its main, well, I guess early main focus would be like Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, where Leonardo DiCaprio is this kind of waning actor who's like kind of losing popularity, and Brad Pitt's like his stuntman.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, it's also a story about Charles Manson and Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate being played by Margot Robbie.
Interesting. Okay.
But I'm really interested to see, because it's got a lot of people in it. Like anytime that Hollywood makes a movie about Hollywood, like there's always a lot of intrigue into it. Hollywood loves talking about itself.
Yeah.
But especially with really cinephile that Quentin Tarantino is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm expecting there to be a lot of like visual and maybe even like line reference to like various movies, things like that.
That'd be cool.
He does that all the time anyway.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested to see like, how that all goes down. Like, I'm really excited about it because I'm a big Tarantino fan in the first place.
There's not a single movie he's done that I haven't liked. So
yeah, I'm excited about it. It's his officially ninth film.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from other ones that he's maybe worked on or done stuff with, or maybe he just did and didn't want to call official.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm really excited about that. Happy that I'm going to go see that. But yeah, like it's going to be fun, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to tell me how it is.
Oh, definitely.
I'll catch it. I'll catch it eventually.
But yeah, I don't know. And it's always just great seeing, because it's insane how good of an actor Leonardo DiCaprio is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, he got, I don't know why, like around the time that like Titanic came out and stuff like that, like I don't know if it was just like people that I was around. I mean, I was a kid. I was in like middle school or something like that.
Right.
But everybody hated Leonardo DiCaprio like back then.
I'll tell you what it was. It was because he was like the premier like teen heartthrob.
Oh, like Jonathan Taylor Thomas for a while. Like all the boys hated them.
Exactly that. Yes.
But I mean, like I liked Gilbert Grape. I liked Titanic. I thought he did a good job. And then just like every movie I've seen like as an adult, The Departed.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God, The Departed is like one of my like all time favorite mobster kind of movies.
I mean, he is an insanely good actor.
Yeah.
Like I would dare say like skill level, like he is probably the best actor today.
Yeah. The Island. Oh my God. I like Leonardo DiCaprio,
and it's almost a travesty that he had to wait so long to get an Oscar.
Yeah. But, I mean, was it just like an age thing?
It they would never tell you that.
Oh, I know.
That's absolutely what it was. I mean, if you actually look, because Matt Pat with I guess in particular this was with not the game theory side, but the film theory side. He actually did a study of this, like, leading into the Oscars a handful of years ago before Leo actually ever had his Oscar.
Yeah.
He did a whole study of like what it takes to win an Oscar, like, the qualifications for best actor, the qualifications for best actress and everything. And what he found was it was nearly impossible to win a best actor award before you were 40.
Wow. 40
is basically the cutoff, because there's been like, I think Adrian Brody is like the only person to win an Oscar under 40, like for best actor.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, and I think he was like 28 or something, like really young for some reason. I guess there just weren't a lot of older actors that year or something.
Maybe.
But yeah, like, and sure enough, like as soon as he turned 40, like Leonardo DiCaprio got his Oscar.
Which movie did he get it? Was it the one?
It was for The Revenant.
He fought a bear.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie yet. I need to watch it. I thought it was so cool that
he had to fight a bear to get his best actor award.
Yeah. That's all I know about that movie is he fought a bear.
But yeah, so it's really insightful, and if that kind of thing interests you at all, like you should totally check it out, because it definitely gets into the nitty gritty of studying the trends and really predicting the types of things that actually grant the award.
Yeah. Not
to mention, there's another video that he did that was related, like he did them kind of back to back. that studied what makes like a best picture film. Like, and he basically, you know, laid out like this. Here is like a blueprint for what would be a best picture.
Just to lay out the whole plot, like,
well, not like the plot per se, but like here's what it should be about. Like here's you know, like the general structure of it. Like here's an actual story that that you could use to basically build this movie.
Oh wow!
And so far, nobody has done that movie.
Oh.
But I'm keeping an eye out for it because I'm pretty sure whenever it happens, he's probably right. It'll get an Oscar.
Interesting. I need to watch this. I need to watch this video.
Oh,
is
yeah.
it a video?
It is a video. It's on YouTube. Like it might be a little hard to just find it by searching film theory, but there's a ton of good videos that he's got on there. Like he does really good work with that.
Just send me a link.
Okay.
I'll check it out.
But yeah, he's not always good with predicting the plots of upcoming movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has like an 0-3 track record on Star Wars movies, I think, right now.
Star Wars, man, like I 4, 5, and 6, like still the best Star Wars movies in my opinion.
I mean, I would agree to a large extent.
I was reading something yesterday talking about how Star Wars looked better when it had cheap props.
I agree.
I
absolutely agree with that.
With all the CGI.
I absolutely agree with that. And the biggest reason I think is because it like especially at this point that CG has aged.
Yeah.
And not well.
Yeah.
Like it really just looks like a cheesy attempt to try and like make it look more modern that at this point just kind of falls flat.
Yeah.
At least when it had the original the original props, like the original way that everything looked and the way that everything was done, like it still looked genuine to this is the way that they made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I think not enough people appreciate taking things as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it doesn't have to be the most technologically impressive thing ever. Like, look at Star Trek. People still love the original series.
Oh, yeah.
And it was about as low tech as it got when it came to like props and displaying things.
Yeah.
I mean, they used a lot of the same techniques where you had like the tiny model that they filmed like to make it look like it was going through space and things like that.
Throwing tinfoil balls.
Throwing tinfoil balls. I mean, it was all like really like, and I mean, at the time, it was still somewhat impressive with the effects that they had.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like looking back at it that it really comes across as bad.
No, it's still in the future. They're still in space. Like it still has that feel. Like
oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, or you look at like Doctor Who. Like Doctor Who, like especially when it started out, like it was so like low budget that they didn't even have like props for these things.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh well, he has a sonic screwdriver that he just points at things and stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he needs to get in this place, so he just uses the psychic paper, which is a blank sheet of paper that people think says whatever he wants them to think. What's his vehicle? It's a police phone box.
Yeah.
It just sits there and then goes through time. It's bigger on the inside though.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, things like that. It doesn't have to be like all flashy and high tech. Like, I mean, these are huge franchises that have huge followings of people that are rabid fans of. Yeah. And I mean, especially like where they started, I mean, they were actually kind of cheesy by today's standards, but that's what a lot of people love about it.
Mm-hmm. Even more modern, and this is a topic that we are kind of on discussing something completely unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
But South Park.
Yeah.
The pilot for South Park, it took them like 3 months to do it,
and
it was all done with construction paper.
Yeah, just cutouts of construction paper.
And then from there on, like they scanned all of the construction paper assets, I guess. And then they use 3D animation software to do the scenes and animate it at that point.
But yeah, like it's it's like it's not like, oh well, you know, people just hated it back then. It's like, you know, people started liking this stuff even when it had like the really kind of low budget effects and methods.
Star Wars had a cult following.
Oh yeah.
But way before episode 1, 2, and 3 came out.
Absolutely.
Before the remaster of 4, 5, and 6.
I mean, I saw Star Wars before it was ever remastered.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I was at Goodwill yesterday, or maybe it was Thursday. I don't remember. I went to Goodwill and I saw a trilogy box of Star Wars.
Of like the original?
Before the remastered.
Oh, wow.
It was missing a tape.
Oh.
I was so close to buying it. I don't even have a VHS to play it, but I was so close to buying it and then find a cheap VHS player somewhere,
right?
So I could watch it without
because
the
you
stupid fucking Anakin scene.
And you can't find it anymore. You really can't.
No, Lucas wants it dead. Like anything that has to do before the remastered, he wants it dead. He doesn't want people to know that. I thought the fucking scene at the end where it has Anakin
is the ghost
as a kid or as a fucking like teenager.
Yeah,
like it makes no fucking sense.
It really doesn't. Like I liked it so much better.
He died as an old man.
Yeah, I liked it so much better when he was the old man, but he wasn't disfigured anymore.
Yeah,
like
it made more sense. But seeing fucking the Anakin from episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It pissed me off so much. And then they got rid of the Ewok song too.
Yeah, they did.
What that was like the best song in the whole movie.
Yub Nub.
Yeah. Oh man.
And they replaced it with, what was it, Jedi Rocks?
Yeah, like stupid.
That sounds so damn cheesy.
Song.
Like
I hate the remastered Star Wars.
It really, like, there was nothing good about, like, there was no real reason to add it in.
No.
Like, I mean, it's like they even went back and added a scene that was cut so early that it was shot with Jabba being a guy in a big fur coat.
Yeah.
And then they just like slapped the CGI Jabba over top of him walking and talking with Han Solo.
Yeah.
Like
before he wasn't able to move anymore.
It was cut so early in the process that Jabba wasn't even really an alien. He was just a guy in a fur coat.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I don't really like. I appreciate what the end product was, but I'm not a huge fan of George Lucas, to be honest.
No, yeah, I'm not a fan of the direction they're going with Star Wars,
and I thoroughly believe that Lucas isn't really the reason why Star Wars became as big as it did. Like, there were a lot of people helping him out. Like, I've heard these things. Like, I think it was like his wife that actually made a lot of the decisions and was just like, yeah, no, you shouldn't do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they released the remastered VHSs, I remember at the beginning of each one, or maybe the beginning of A New Hope, like Lucas was talking about it, and like talking about how he sat down to write a book, and then it ended up turning into 3 books, and then it ended up turning into 6 books, and then it ended up turning into 9 books. But
he never actually published the books.
No, and then turned them into screenplays. And a lot of he mentioned his wife telling him no, telling him yes. Like she was on set and she was like, no, this doesn't make any sense. Like I want to say that I remember that happening, like that being said, like at the beginning of those videos.
And they were constantly changing things throughout the production of the 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like, originally, Luke and Leia weren't supposed to be siblings.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you end up with that really awkward, like, scene from the second movie.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like looking back on it, it's like,
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I appreciate what the originals ended up as, but I think way too much effort has gone into trying to, I guess, kind of remake that like I guess to use a cliched phrase, like catch that lightning in a bottle again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they're still making a lot of money off of it. I mean, Disney's making a lot of money off of it now.
That's true.
But I don't know. I haven't even bothered to watch anything past episode 7. I do need to watch Han Solo's story. But I can't get myself to watch 8. I'm not even excited for a 9. Like,
I think 8 at least had some cool parts to it.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't entirely disappointed with it.
I wouldn't say I disliked the movie, but it wasn't like it just wasn't great. It wasn't as great as what the originals were to me.
My takeaway from 8 is, and I guess it depends a lot on what happens in 9, but my takeaway from it is it seems like they're moving it towards a direction that might actually be good. Like a direction that's actually kind of separating it from like the pre-existing lore, to where it can actually be its own story again.
Okay.
Because I think that's part of the problem with all of this is that everything has revolved around the original 3 episodes. Like the prequels were all just, well, this is how we got there. Yeah. And like everything following up is like, and okay, well, we're still following the same characters and this is what happens to them after.
Yeah.
Like there's so much, especially when you look at the extended universe in Star Wars, there's so much out there to work off of and to build off of that it really just seems like a shame to continue focusing on just a small portion of it.
Yeah. Hell, some of my favorite Star Wars stories, like more favorite than 4, 5, and 6, were the novels. Where you have like some of my favorites were after Luke and Mara Jade's children were adults. Han Solo and Leia's children are adults. Han didn't die so early on.
Yeah.
And
Chewbacca got killed by a moon.
Yeah, he did. Oh, and Chewbacca was like one of the only Wookiees that spoke the way he did. He had a speech impediment.
Yeah.
Other Wookiees were able to speak English and other languages and stuff like that. Chewie had a speech impediment. Just cool little fun facts that don't matter anymore.
Yeah. Which is also really sad because there was so much good stuff there, and there's kind of pulling from it a little bit here and there, but it's not really the same.
No. And to end it off, Lucas lost a bet with Steven Spielberg whenever A New Hope came out, and Fourth Kind,
Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
or Third Kind, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because like Lucas was like, this is such a low budget movie, this is a piece of shit movie, Star Wars, A New Hope. He was like, him and Steven Spielberg had a $1 bet that each other's movies would be the best movie, or maybe it wasn't a $1 bet or something like that.
I thought what it was they basically made a bet by way of they would give each other like a % of the profits from the movie.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, it was something like that. But it was Lucas thought Close Encounters was gonna be way better, and Steven Spielberg was like, no, Star Wars A New Hope is gonna be better, and Lucas thought his movie was gonna fail.
Yeah, Lucas lost that bet pretty heavily. Like Steven Spielberg made a shitload of money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm so glad Steven Spielberg had a good hand in the production of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that definitely probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's all that we have for this week. So, thank you for joining us in our triumphant return, as we're just going to call it.
Most triumphant
return. And join us again next week when we'll have something more to podcast.